to finally make a video on this subject. I did not want to do this, but I feel like it's finally about time to talk about this now. Greetings, I'm Elvis X from the Empire X community, and yes, today we are going to be talking about the old fabled legend of dubs versus subs. And I'm going to be ranting a little bit on a couple of things. For those of you who don't know, Guilty Gear XRD Revelator from One Arc System Works recently came out a couple of days ago in the US, and I believe today in Europe. Although their time zone's all screwy, so it's probably been out over there for quite a while. In any event, yeah. About several days before it came out, I'd say, around June 3rd or 4th at MomoCon, Axis Games unveiled the game would not feature an English dub. You might be saying, okay, well what's wrong with this? And if that's the case, then clearly you are a fan of subs, and that's fine. That is your personal opinion. Now hold on, let me explain my points here. You see, the way that they did this underhandedly several days just before the game released means that they were intending their dub fan base to actually buy the game without noticing this little thing, being as how the MomoCon announcement is something most people would probably miss unless they avidly follow this game. And I'm pretty sure most people who avidly follow Guilty Gear are those who've been with it for a while, therefore would probably only be interested in the subs version anyways. Kind of a dick move, Axis, not gonna lie. But the reason why I'm a little pissed about this whole concept is the fact that the last two installments in this series featured a full-length English dub. Guilty Gear 2 Overture released back in 2007 on the Xbox 360, and Guilty Gear XRD Sign released only 18 months ago, both featured a full English cast and voice work throughout its entirety. So the fact that its sequel, XRD Revelator, is lacking this is just really lazy, and quite frankly, asinine. You might be asking why. Well, you see, the thing is that they are removing features that were in previous installments of the same franchise, and it is that shit that really irritates me. Whether you're a fan of English dubs or subs is irrelevant at this point, being as how, even you must admit, them removing something that was in previous installments in the game is them just taking the easy way out because they don't feel like shelling out a little extra capital to hire a professional English dub cast. That really pisses me off. Now, and more to this point, I've heard that the rumor is they might actually add in an English dub later on once all the story has been released, because the story mode is broken up into episodes that they plan to release as free add-ons later during this game's lifespan. Which means, in all technicality, the story mode wasn't really finished in the first place. You fucking idiots learned nothing from Street Fighter V's failed launch, did you? In fact, that's the one complaint I actually see all over the place about Revelator, is the fact that the story mode feels a little incomplete. Granted, I heard one of the most recent patches added in more story to make it have a more conclusive ending, at least for now. Doesn't change the fact that, yes, this game is somewhat unfinished when it comes to its story mode content. Okay, so based on that, though, we could easily surmise that the game should have been delayed another several months, to that way they can actually just launch the game with all of its story mode, and thereby also including an English dub. But the point I'm getting at is the rumor being that maybe the reason they didn't have an English dub is because since it would be scheduling conflicts with them not being able to get everyone in repeatedly to actually voice these new episodes. I call bullshit on this, being as how Street Fighter V story mode and new characters have been coming out for several months now. I fucked up my English. Anyway, and they have all been English dubbed, and the fact that I have to actually compare Guilty Gear, a game known for its vast amounts of single-play content, with a game like Street Fighter V, infamous for its lack of single-play content, really astonishes me, and I thought I would never have to do this. Either way, it's easy to point out the bullshit here and just how lazy Axis it was in this decision. On top of which, the game came out merely 11 days after the Japanese version, implying that the reason there is no English dub was because they wanted to get it out to the consumers in the US and EU as quickly as possible to coincide with the Japanese release. Yeah, again, I'm one of those people, if we have to wait another few weeks or even a couple of months to actually have all the options available to us, then by all means, delay the game for the other regions. Because the only people who would say prefer the subtitles that really care about the game franchise itself would most likely just import an English subbed only version from the Asian region or Japan in the first place. Thereby fans of the dub could patiently await so we would have nothing to bitch about. And yes, I am one of those fans. Say what you will about my personal preference, but I prefer to sit back and actually enjoy the cutscene without having to worry about missing a subtle line of subtitles here or there. On top of that, I am slightly visually impaired, so, subtitles are a little more difficult for me. In either event, the point I'm getting at is these developers are actually getting to the point where they know over here it is okay to have a lack of an English dub because the subtitle fan audience will still buy the game despite the fact there's a lack of content. And that's fine. If you prefer subs and this doesn't bother you, that's okay. I have no problem with you guys that prefer subs. The people I personally have a problem with are those who go out of their way to attack people like myself who prefer English dubs and request them to be inserted in the games. I am not actually that new to Guilty Gear, even though I prefer it having a dub. I've actually been with Guilty Gear since XX, back in the mid to late 2000s. So, yeah. And it was one of those instances when I was playing the story mode, I was thinking, it would be nice if this game actually had an English dub so I didn't actually have to read all this. It's fully voiced, so why not? When XRD announced it had an English dub, I was actually really happy about it. First Guilty Gear fighting game to feature one, to my knowledge. And then when Revelator announced several days before it was supposed to launch that it was not going to have one, naturally I got pissed and felt like I was slapped in the face. So, I canceled my pre-order. You might think that's a little extreme, but I'm not going to support a developer/publisher that likes to take the lazy way out with their decisions just to cash in on unsuspecting fans of the dub who weren't following the game closely. Now, moving on from that, though, the fans who actually attack dubs in general and claim that it's a plus the game doesn't have a dub are what piss me off. Because you are actually... you're making it okay for these developers to get away with these lazy decisions, and that's bullshit. Again, if you don't like the dub, fine, but don't go out of your way to piss on the fans that actually do. And on top of that, give these developers a perfect excuse to not include a feature that was in previous installments of the same franchise. I've seen this shit before with other game developers as well. In fact, Koei Tecmo is very guilty of this shit. Earlier this year, they released the game Arslan Warriors of Legend, based on the popular anime series The Heroic Legend of Arslan. The Heroic Legend of Arslan was fully English dubbed last year, yet the game wasn't. Even more to the point, Attack on Titan, which is even more popular of an anime franchise, and everyone is familiar with the dub by now, whether you like it or hate it, isn't gonna be dubbed later this year. The game itself will feature English subtitles only, even though the spin-off included of Junior High was fully dubbed. This really pisses me off. For fuck's sake here, okay? These developers are really gonna actually get away with this? And again, this is why I'm going to vote with my wallet, as the phrase is so eloquently put. I'm refusing to buy a game that should clearly have an English dub, yet it doesn't, for no fucking reason other than the developers being lazy and not wanting to license out their product. Again, this is really becoming a sad day in the age of gaming when the Atlas over there announced Persona 5 and had to point out specifically, yes, the game will have an English dub. We should not have even hit this point where dub fans would have to be worried if a game will be dubbed or not. And I know someone out there might point out the fact of, say, but I did get Dead or Alive Extreme 3. Yes, I did. However, that game was never released outside of the Asian regions. Therefore, I knew right away it was not going to be English dubbed. However, a game that is supposed to be released in North America and Europe, based on a franchise that has already been established as being dubbed in English, not having an English dub in its game adaptation comes across as really fucking lazy, and also really stupid. All it's gonna do is piss off your dub-marketed audience that is actually awaiting this. And on top of that, this is the other problem I have with the elitist sub-fans out there that attack people like myself, claiming that the dubs are worthless. Ironically, dubs are what get a series into the mainstream of the society, if you think about it. Because think about it in North America, no one seems to complain about Street Fighter 4 or 5's English dub. In fact, it is most likely because it's dubbed, it actually did so well over here. Same with Blaze Blue. Blaze Blue fared much better than Guilty Gear in the US because of its stellar dub performances. And I've seen people claim that Guilty Gear Xrd Sign has some of the worst dub casting in history. Yes, because Matthew Mercer and Yuri Lowenthal are really terrible voice actors. Clearly. And again, that is your personal opinion. You don't have to go forcing it on everyone else that actually prefers having their content dubbed. I'm not saying remove the Japanese subtitle track altogether. I'm saying give people the option to choose what they want in their game. Not having an English dub is really, really stupid. In fact, when you have lesser-known games that just came out, such as the Atelier or Alchemist series on the PS4, have a full English dub track in them, yet you have other more established franchises, i.e. Attack on Titan, not having one, it really starts to show how lazy a company is. And that whole complaint about, well, maybe they couldn't afford licensing out to voice actors really goes out the window at that point. And again, when I have to point out that a game like Street Fighter V at least featured a full English dub, then you know there's a problem. If that lazily put together mess actually has something that Guilty Gear, a franchise known for content, does not, I think you're doing something wrong. And I know this rant seems to be going on a while, but it really is a nagging complaint of mine. I know both sub and dub fans I'm actually friends with a lot of them, and I know that has really no bearing here, but a lot of them actually agree with my statement. Even the sub-fans that I talk to admit it is really bad that there's not even an option for fans like myself. And again, when I see reviews of Guilty Gear Revelator praising it for the lack of a dub, it kind of pisses me off, because that means you are praising it for removing content that was already in the fucking game originally in its past installment. My head hurts at that prospect. Why would you praise a game for the lack of an option that was in a previous installment? Are we really going to have to see this for the Attack on Titan games? And again, what is this going to mean for future installments of other great franchises? What if Dead or Alive 6 comes out without an English dub? And before anyone says the dub for DOA 5 is bad and that it shouldn't even have one, just shut up and listen, okay? Dead or Alive 5, if you notice, is actually one of the best-selling 3D fighting games to date, especially since it had an English dub. A lot of people over here for the first time actually picked it up for that very reason. Most people were put off by DOAs 1 through 4 because of its Japanese English subtitled only nature, because most people actually just want to relax and watch the cutscene. In fact, another point I could bring up is take the classic Resident Evil games, for example. No one seems to complain about the fact that those games were dubbed only. It wasn't until later entries in the series they included a Japanese voice track. Again, I'm going to wrap this up because this is going on forever now, and I could talk about this in circles for a year without still getting anywhere. I don't think people should go around bashing a game for having an English dub. Leave it the fuck alone and let people decide whether they like a dub or a sub, and don't attack them for it. That's just asinine. It's because of that stigma that animes such as Fist of the North Star, Saint Seiya, and even JoJo's Bizarre Adventure are just now receiving an English dub, or the pre-mentioned ones probably never will get one over here again. On top of that, the fact that it's starting to affect the game industry in such a negative way is really baffling to me. And you might be saying it's not affecting it on a grandiose scale. Trust me, if this keeps up with people praising the lack of a dub and such things as that nature goes, it will eventually. Soul Calibur 6, for example, could come out without an English dub, and I'm pretty sure that would throw a lot of people off, because that dub is seen as very popular. And I already made my decision. If BlazBlue Central Fiction comes out without an English dub when every other game in the franchise was, I'm pretty much going to be done with Arc System Works. But yeah, please leave a comment below and let me know your thoughts. Do you prefer English dubs or subs? And do you agree with my statement that games need to have both options to actually connect with a mainstream audience? Or are you just gonna attack this asshole for voicing his opinion in the comments and say that dubs are horrible? Either way, love reading through them, so please let me know. And are you gonna pick up Guilty Gear Revelator? Or are you gonna wait till it's discounted heavily like I am? I'm Elvis X from the Empire X Gaming community. Please stay tuned for more videos, like the Street Fighter V Let's Play, which will be updated as soon as the new story mode add-on comes out. Stay tuned for more discussions and stuff of that nature. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like, comment, subscribe, please. Appreciate it. Till next time, guys.